Okay, so now we're recording. Okay, ready?
I think so.
So, tables have turned.
I don't know. I'm
Oh my
nervous.
gosh, it's going to be great. Okay. Hey, fabulous listeners. You might have done a double take thinking, wait, that's not Ashley's voice. And you'd be right. I'm Rachel Starr, the creative director here at Ashley Barlow Co. and the mastermind behind today's plot twist. For 149 episodes, Ashley's been our captain, steering the ship with her wisdom, guiding us on this awesome mission to jazz up the world of special education and advocacy. But today we're at episode 150, baby. And I'm hijacking the mic to put our dear Captain Ashley in the hot seat. Let's talk numbers for a sec. We've had let's talk numbers for a sec. 50 amazing guests with over 75 plus additional connections. They deserve a round of applause too. A whopping 84,000 downloads and counting, and love notes from 23 different countries. But who's counting? So what's the plan? Today, we're going to dive into the ABCs of ABCo's beginning. Ashley's Oh My Stars moments during her first recording and the fireworks of her first guest episode. The dreams, the giggles, and the whoops of the wild ride. And because who doesn't love some good gossip? A sneaky peek into what's cooking for the ABCco's future. Whether you've been rocking with us since day one, or if you're the newest member of our groovy tribe, buckle up, Buttercup, because today it's all about getting the inside scoop from Ashley herself. Hello, Ashley.
Hi. This is weird.
It's so amazing.
I like it. I'm so excited. This was a good idea. We're going to have fun.
It's going to be a blast. Okay, I'm going to dive in and we're going to get started. Okay?
Let's do it.
All right, so first up, spill the beans. How did we magically land into the Ashley Barlow Co. existence? How did Ashley Barlow Co. start?
Because Frozen 2 is really trippy. So I was watching Frozen 2 with Jack at the beginning of the pandemic, and I texted a friend who had to help me with my website at my law firm, and I said, should I do a podcast or a vlog? Honestly, I was doing some Facebook videos as I was working with Jack early on in the pandemic, and as I was reading all of the guidance documents and stuff that was coming from the state of Kentucky and from the federal government on education back during COVID shutdown. I was like, I've kind of always thought about doing a podcast. I wonder if I should do a vlog on, literally my text to her was podcast or vlog. And she said, I know this girl, Rachel, out in some state I had never heard of.
Montana. It is one of the 50 states.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I had never heard of it. And so she was like, I know this girl, Rachel. Maybe she can answer. And so we started texting back and forth. And then that's the funny thing, as if it wasn't funny already. Because of the way I make decisions, you and I texted during the viewing of Frozen 2. Mm-hmm. We already had an appointment scheduled by the time Frozen 2 was over. Stupidest movie ever made. And I had a focus group planned. So the very next night I had a focus group. The night after that, you and I met. And the morning after that, I had paid you a sizable retainer to make a website and to develop an entire lifestyle type brand.
Yeah.
That's how it happened.
And crazily, in that time period, I had a random week where I was back in Montana picking up my kids because we were moving to Ohio. So yeah. I already had moved to Ohio. I was just picking up my kids. So I was managing all of that while flying my two kids across the country in the middle of a pandemic.
And a dog.
Yeah, we drove the dog across country in the U-Haul. Yeah, do not move in the middle of a pandemic in a U-Haul.
No big deal. It was really no big deal at all. But that's how Ashley Barlow came to be. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of back history. I had actually even sat down to develop something to train special education advocates, and just not like inspiration never struck. I had kind of always dreamed about being able to provide resources to families in a more economical way, and in a like less um, fuddy-duddy, boring legal way.
Yeah.
Because it's a process that's founded in the law, but it's not founded. Like sometimes humanity comes out of it, and so I wanted to be able to put humanity into it. But yeah, that's the story.
I think one of the reasons that you and the podcast and just ABCco in general are so successful is that you're not stuffy and you provide very stuffy, a lot of the times, information in a relatable, consumable way. I think that's why the podcast is so relatable too, is that it's like having a conversation with you, which was really important to the brand from the very start, was that it was a conversation opposed to a lesson. Like the lesson's there, of course, but it was always more a conversation than it was, here's the 17 things you should do tomorrow, because no one has time for that.
Well, and I don't know what those 17
Exactly.
things are. I wish that I could be that organized and I could have that kind of foresight, but that's just not the way that my brain works. I think, yeah, I mean, that's the way that I practice law, and it's unique. And it's just very like, I like people. So it's very sociology based. That's why interest based negotiation works for me, because um, I like to figure out how people work, and then how to get people to come to common ground. And there's no, my law practice was a general practice. So I have done Social Security. I've done a lot of civil stuff. I was like the landslide girl in Northern Kentucky for a while, which I hated. I did not want to be the landslide girl. But like major, major civil work, like I
Right.
could tell you how to build a retaining wall. Um, I don't want to know that, but I do know. Don't get too coarse of fill. That's the
Oh, good
situation.
tip.
Yeah,
Good
you
side
need a
tip.
lot of that geogrid. Like that geogrid, that is key to the wall. And so, but in doing all of that, I still have maintained a um, personal component to practicing law. I literally wrote my essay to get into law school about bringing people together. And that's, there's no time that's more important to do that than in special education and in education in general. So I think that's probably why my personality, my interest, my style works so well in this particular modality. And it's why I do it exclusively now. I just love this line of work.
Yeah. Well, you can tell there's a great passion behind you too. All jokes aside. Um,
And literally behind me, if you're watching
yes,
the video,
it's
there's
very
Jack.
true. A very adorable
There's
photo
a
of
picture of
him.
Jack. I know I'll never replace that
Yeah,
picture. He's
it's
so
too
cute.
good. It's too good. If anybody's watching me, I have my pap above me. He just oversees the day, makes sure things go well. You know,
With his awesome hat.
the hat is that. He wore trucker hats before trucker hats were cool. He
Right?
was such a. My pap also drank iced coffee, and iced coffee was not a thought in the world. And
See,
everyone in our family made fun of him because when Nanny would make coffee, he waited for hours for it to be at the temp that he wanted, and then he put milk and ice in it. So pap was cool far before anything. He was a trendsetter.
a millennial.
Yes, yes, he was. It's unbelievable.
Love.
Okay, so take us back. What was it like the first time you recorded an episode? Like just a solo one? Like what were you like nervous? Like did you put together a script? Like what did you do?
Oh yeah, there was a script. Yeah. So this was like pandemic time, and I had Jack home for 18 months from school, and so I was trying to run a law practice full time. At the time that this business started, I was working like 65 hours a week. That was normal. I used to work 80, and so I was down to about 65 by the time COVID started. And we had all of this stress with Jack's health. He had what's probably an autoimmune flare. We never did figure it out. Um, And so we had him home from school for the first 18 months of the pandemic. And so I was doing his school, getting on all of his Zooms and all of that stuff. I was trying to manage a 65-hour-a-week job in about 30. My husband and I had all kinds of different schedules that all worked pretty well, honestly, but I was basically getting like 4-hour chunks, and then I was getting weekends. And so when I first went up to record, I think I did it on a Saturday. There was definitely a script, and oh my gosh, a ton of makeup. I remember that I thought I needed foundation and makeup, which is real funny because I barely, like, I don't know, when I get makeup they put it on the paper, like a paper. Do you
Yeah.
know they have a face?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what to do with makeup,
I
so
don't.
they put it on a paper.
I like buy makeup and then I'm like, I have all this makeup and I use two things. Like
I don't even
I
buy
use a
it.
tinted
Like,
moisturizer and a mascara. Yep.
amen. I don't know. I mean, well, what's really funny is I still use bronzer even when I'm this tan, and I'm like all covered up because I'm so tan. Um, and so there's a lot of makeup and a script, and okay, but here's the thing: is like I can't honestly say, and I was so intimidated. I mean, I can honestly say I have no idea what I was doing,
Right.
but and I still kind of don't. But that's the beauty of it; you don't have to know. But um, I love helping people. I love an audience. I love this topic. I could literally, as you have seen, talk forever about special education and all the things that touch advocacy. So, once I kind of got like dialed in, oh, what's also funny is, and this still happens, if you set out to like record something, it could be an IGTV, it could be a podcast, it could be anything, you have to start like 15 times, and then once you get 5 minutes in, no problem at all.
Yes.
But my phone back then would have like 1,000 like videos of the same picture of me, because it would be like 2 seconds, 13 seconds, 4 minutes. That's 4 minutes of my life that's gone, And so that was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how it was in the beginning.
What was it like for your first guest? Like, were you more nervous because you were going to interview someone? And then there was a lot more like technical aspects too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So one of the things, so my first guest was my friend Sarah Plattenberg, who I just like totally, totally adore. Sarah and I met at the COPA conference. Yeah, I talk about COPA all the time. COPA is the Council of Parents, Attorneys, and Advocates. It's a advocacy group. It's like our kind of like trade organization here in special education advocacy. And I met her there. When you sit in a room of 100 people and you're like, oh, that person could be my friend. I'm sure I, liked her shoes or something. Um, I usually gravitate towards blondes.
Yes.
It just happens. My friend Gina, I met her at a rights law training, and we had the same haircut, so we bonded over that. But Sarah was like, so the interview was great. Everything was fine. She actually commented on how much makeup I had on, which was funny. And the technical thing that I thought was funny was that I recorded on my iPad because I thought, I don't know why, but I thought that would be better with like a tripod. I just looked over, it's in the corner, and it's stayed in the corner probably since then. And I mean, I had all the stuff, right? Like I
Yep.
had this like thing behind my microphone that muffled the sound like 1%. That thing's gone. And so all the stuff, which like I kept knocking over, and that was bad. But then the other funny thing was I had it set up in like speaker profile, so I would see her and then I would see me and then I would see her, and that was really confusing. So I don't really remember. I'm sure the episode was great. I think we talked about like preparing for the school year. Um, and then I think we talked about like getting together at the beginning of second semester and saying, okay, what do you do at the beginning of second semester? What do you do before the summer? But we never did that.
Best laid plans. We have come a long
Yeah.
way technically because now you like can record this into your phone and we can edit all the background noise out and it sounds so crisp and clear and you don't need all the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've come a
Yeah.
long ways in the editing front. Like I listened to some of the
It's
old first episodes and I'm like, oh my gosh, should I go back and re-edit that? Maybe I should go back and re-edit that.
well, you know what? We're going to talk about this, I think, because I did see the questions. I didn't study for them, but I saw them. Um, but that kind of goes with the perfectly imperfect brand. Like, I cannot sit with a curated backdrop with my hair done without children in the background. That's just, first of all, that's not me. And second of all, I would venture to say for a bunch of my listeners, that isn't them either.
Yeah.
So, when you've got kids, when you have jobs and chores and you want to try to work out or like be a nice daughter from time to
Right.
time, you can't always just plop yourself in front of this beautiful Pinteresty backdrop
No.
with all the high tech stuff and be like, and now this is the time when I make hot tea and I drink and I record a podcast. It like
Right.
that's not real life. So we slowly came up with this tagline of perfectly imperfect.
Yes.
And it's like, I might put on a headband to cover up how terrible my hair is. Or I might say, Rachel, we can't put the video on because
Yeah.
I, haven't washed my hair in 6 days.
So now everyone knows why all the ones that are missing your smiling face. No, I'm kidding.
I'm sure they're not. Really?
I've seen a lot
Really?
of the roof of your car. I've seen a
Yeah.
lot of the roof of your car for sure.
My
And your bedroom. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I just get
Yeah.
rid of that and put up a nice little, just a little image.
You probably see my chin too, because
Mhm.
sometimes I don't even have an AirPod, so I have to like rest it
Yep.
on my chest.
I can tell. And then sometimes you
That's
move it, and I'm like, oh, she moved it. Gotta, like you move the phone. Yeah.
And it goes like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Sometimes I pull it out of my pocket because my AirPod dies. That's a great
That's
sound.
oh, yep. I've heard that one. That one's for sure. So, like, when did you realize you had gone from recording to like having fans and like, oh, this was a thing and people actually were listening? Like, how did you know? Like, what was your, your moment?
Are you talking about the Carla effect?
Yes, I am. I am. I'm talking about the Carla effect.
Carla. Oh, Carla. So Carla was on the podcast. Carla Warish was on. Oh, sorry. I'm out of my email and it still makes the ding. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So Carla, I mean, I don't know that Carla was my first like fan that I actually noticed, but it came to be that well, I think Rachel, actually maybe you told me in the beginning, you could tell when people kind of like found us on the internet because people would download everything. So you were getting the email update saying somebody downloaded the communication bundle or the special education and advocacy lab, and then the this and that and this and that and this and that. And so I think that was really kind of when we first started to figure out that like, oh, this is working. People are listening. And then I started to get people that were reaching out to me with feedback, which was so helpful. Like, oh, I just used this and you'll never believe the response that the teacher gave me. Or thank you so much for the episode on blah, blah, blah. I contacted this expert that's here in Minneapolis and now I can't wait to start with speech or, whatever it was. And what's neat is, and I'm Carla was kind of my first person where this happened, where people started sharing stuff, like really sharing stuff and recommending to their communities. And in the case of Carla, she's a military spouse that was living in Japan at the time, that's a former teacher. She was working in a school. And so she has like a really tapped in network. And she started sharing a lot. And it was like, oh my gosh, like this is actually providing value to people. And that's, I mean, honestly, that's something that's really great because you put this stuff into the universe. But what's different about this is my job's really relational. Like I have people that come to me and say, I need your help. They're emotional, they're crying, they're stressed out, they're yelling, they're, really kind of at their wits' end. And that's why they come to me as an attorney. But in this job at Ashley Barlow Company, I'm putting stuff into the internet and not really hearing if it works. And so for those folks that, have kind of become more communicative, it's really helpful. So that's a long answer, but we'll call it the Carla effect for
Yeah,
short.
it was funny because there were days where all of a sudden, I'd see the notifications popping up where someone downloaded, you could see who it was, downloaded like all the freebies, right? And then you could tell like a couple hours to go by, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, we have a purchase, and it's the same person. And I'm like, okay. And then I really noticed in the podcast where, so that first episode would come out for the, would drop for the week. But then when I would go back and look at stats, people were listening to old episodes, right? So you could tell that they were binging. And I was starting to see that like the back catalog was moving forward specific episodes. So
Yeah, that was neat to watch too, like how episodes were performing and to watch the stats on old episodes and that kind of thing. Yeah. So, but you need to be in something for a while in order for the data to actually make any sense, which is true in special education too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was definitely slow, but for me, like the creative outlet of Ashley Barlow Company at the beginning was so like self-fulfilling that I had the patience to kind of wait to see if it was actually working.
Exactly. Okay, so I know the answer to this, but which episode? Okay, so two parts. First one is which episode was your favorite episode of all time? And then, yeah, you have to pick one. And then which episode do you think, and I think has performed the best long term over time?
Well, it might be the same. I
Yeah.
mean, listen, I love people, right? And I love people that get excited and people that like have like real substance and people that are not afraid to go out on a limb, people that are like driven and successful, but also like lighthearted and goofy. I'm a swimmer, right? So picture like intense, weird people. These are the people that I like. And so I'm like a major, major, major fangirl of my friend Pete Wright. I love Pete Wright so much. I love Wright's Law. I love all of the Wright's Law publications. Pete did my very first training in special education advocacy, special education law practice. I went down to William and Mary and did ISEA, which doesn't exist anymore. Well, it exists in a different form at a school in San Antonio. So it was just such an honor to have Pete kind of help us to almost launch the podcast. It looks like he was my sixth guest, but it felt like a whole lifetime.
Yeah.
And I remember he teased me about dancing around on the internet because of Instagram Reels. And I was like mortified. Like I consider Pete, like a colleague friend. Right. But he's like, the grandfather of special education. So I was like, oh gosh. So, I mean, honestly, it was just such an honor to talk to him for my business purpose, right? Like he is so supportive of people in this field. And so I had no doubt that he would say yes to being a guest, but it was just so great to talk to him. I have some other episodes that I think, well, and then part two of that is I think that I know that Pete is definitely the highest performing episode. Yep. I think the second highest performing episode still is Solandi Forte. Is that right?
For guests, it is. But there's actually an episode in between of yours that's solo that also still to this day performs really, really, really well.
What is it?
You did, it's an episode, it's about your story. And so it's very heart-centered.
Really?
Yep, it comes in, I mean, like, Pete's like really high, but then your episode that is, it's like, I think it's My Story is what it's called. I think it's
called My Story too.
Yeah, but we promote it heavy as well because I think to me, it's always been a really important episode because it tells the story of you with kind of out the jokes and the lightheartedness it's a very raw episode, and I think it makes you really relatable to parents who either are feeling that themselves or just starting out. And I think that it's why it does so well. But you're right, she is the third best performing
Okay,
episode.
yeah. And I mean, Solani's just great. Like
Yeah.
she explains stuff so well. We talk about FBAs, but it's really about behavior. And so hers was really great. I also think Courtney Hansen provides really great
Hmm.
information. She was in she's like an inclusion um just like crazy passionate advocate about inclusion. Um and she was in news media, so she's very articulate and like succinct. She's as verbose as I am. She's the opposite. She just cuts to the chase and you're like, wow, that was really wise. How do you do that? um, so I totally adored that. Another person that is so wise that we've had on twice is April Rarig. I think
Yes.
April and Aaron Mahaffey, both Ed Sykes. Oh my gosh, their episodes were so helpful. I recorded Aaron's in Key West, and I had to keep muting because airplanes were flying over. Small little island
Yeah.
with a lot of air traffic, and I was like, I almost wanted to do it again because it was so good.
Yeah.
Um, so we've had a billion, and honestly, like anytime I get to communicate and connect with somebody in the field and talk about their favorite topic is so rewarding to me because I learn stuff too, and I just kind of get to geek out about this topic that I love. So, I don't think you can compete with Pete
I
though.
know. I don't think anybody feels less than because Pete is the,
No.
come on. He, like you said, it's grandpa, you know.
Yeah.
Um, is it crazy, dude, that you've had 84,000 downloads? It must be because you miscalculated. I thought it was in the 50s.
Well, don't let me do math. I thought it was 75. I have a little note right here that says how many we have on our old
Yeah.
host, 42,000 on. We used to do it on Podbean.
Mhm.
And so I just must have added 42,000 wrong to the total. But yes, it's crazy. I mean, 84,000
Yeah.
times somebody has listened to something that I have put into the universe for special education. It's just weird. I like I'm not a numbers person, so I can't really conceptualize that, but yes, thank you. Thank you for listening.
So fantastic. One of the best things about our partnership is that I am uber organized. Like maybe too organized, some people in my family might say. So we actually are quite a good balance to get, can I say it, shit done.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, we could.
because like that's really how it functions. Is that you are a great deadliner though. Like you are such a good. If I say, Ash, I need these 4 things by Thursday, you're like, okay, I'll have it to you at this time, and I have it, and you do it.
Well, you know why? Because I like you.
I know.
It's people. I don't have the. Well, I always say I'm like a walking executive function, but it's because I have struggles with that. So, like, I've got lists and I've got outlines and I've got goal sheets and I've got everything, but I might just not be able to find them. But I'll get it done because I made a promise to a person. And if it's you, then it's like a person that I really care about. And like, same thing as what I said about Pete, I really respect, and this is true in advocacy too. I really respect administrators and teachers that are going above and beyond, that are making the relationships, that are doing the research, that are implementing best practice. And so, like, I agree that we're a great team and that we complement one another well. At the end of the day, we're very similar. We both like to work hard and we both are like uber organized, but we're organized in totally different ways.
But it's neat.
And
Like it's neat to watch
yeah,
our brains work together because we've been able to come up with some awesome stuff over the years.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right. We have, I know. And like so many times, my favorite thing is when I call, I've got notes from our last call like this upstairs in my bedroom right now. Where like I just have 1,000 things. Like I was gonna make another class, another
Yeah.
course. And I was like, I'm not feeling it. because of 1,000 reasons. And so you and I hopped on a call, and I have 4 notebook pages of notes that were like, no, we need to do this, 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 and this. And then the summer exploded. And now, now I have a trial.
Yeah.
But as soon as that's over, then we can get back to our May planning. But like the way that you and I bounce ideas off of one another, support one another, can organize stuff when we're together in just an hour,
Yeah.
like 4 times a year, is
Right.
like, okay, we did it.
Yes. Speaking of the future, can you tell us,
Yes.
you want to share maybe a couple nuggets of what the plan is, what's coming up for the next school year and all of those things, or even like, do you have any like really exciting podcast guests that maybe you want to name drop or anything coming up?
Ooh. So for the future, we have so I would like to do more inside my membership. So the membership idea came about because my main class, well, I have 2 classes, right? The one that's more parent geared, the lab, and then the one that's more advocate geared, the ABC course. And those do well, and they sell, and people are engaged in that kind of thing. But like on a day-to-day basis, those people are not super engaged. And I think, they're a little intimidating because of the volume. Like I'm a volume person. I am like give me more. I can't stop reading. I can't stop doing. I love it. I'm a deep diver. But I also live the life of a mom of a kid with a disability, and 1,000 other irons in the fire. And so I understand. So we developed the membership community to basically like drip little bits of content, like top 3 things that you should do this school year if your kid has ADHD, or how to get an evaluation if your kid has dyslexia, like really kind of basic one pagers. And it's going well. We have a really great yet small community over there, and I would like to enrich the people that are part of the membership more. So I'm thinking about taking June, July, and August off, and then doing something big for them. And I have some ideas about what's big for them, um, but that's kind of like a big project for me right now. I also have some plans and some goals to provide more trainings for disability organizations. So for your Decoding Dyslexia or your IDA organization, for your Down syndrome affiliate, for your Autism Speaks group, or whatever your local group is. So I would like to do more half day and day long trainings for you, maybe run a teacher track and a parent track. I would love to do some more hands-on stuff, like sit down with me, everybody bring their IEPs, and we have this guided discussion, and we really like get into our own IEPs, or we start building our binders together, that kind of thing. So I've got that stuff going. And then, of course, we're going to continue to do the stuff that we do so well. The lab will stay evergreen. We will launch the ABC course. I'm real excited about this year's conference, which we will do in January. I've started talking to people about speaking at the conference. And yeah, so that's what we got going on.
Just a little bit, just a couple little things.
I'm always kind of tweaking. I mean, like I said, I wanted to make this course. It was going to be called My Collaborative IEP. It was going to be smaller, but more like negotiation practice based. And honestly, like I just feel like I don't want to overwhelm people with the amount of like big products that we have. I would like to focus more on little products.
Well, I think
Let me know.
definitely let us know. You can email us, either of us, or our direct line too at the info at Ashley Barlow Co. As well. It's monitored all the time. I will say one of the things too for the community, from my perspective, is just helping to nurture the community and grow that piece too, and letting people find community there. As that being another portion of my other job, it's that so valuable. I keep learning over and over again of being able to come to a spot that's not laden with advertising like Facebook is, and actually be able to be with like other people who are in a similar spot that you are in, and be able to nurture and help one another is very fulfilling. And so building the community out more is definitely a big priority for me, for you, coming up too.
Like over in the club, in the monthly membership, we do a fair amount of chit chat in our monthly
Yeah.
discussions, but then we also do like really good, helpful conversations, and that community happens,
Mm-hmm.
where people like will say, well, what school system did you choose? Or, how did the evaluation go? Did you get that paperwork back? And so that is happening, and it's not like starting to happen. It happened right off the
Right.
bat, which was really cool to me because I thought we might have to do more relationship building, and I'm like, oh, I hate icebreakers. So what are we gonna do? Um, but yeah, I mean, that is so important, and I think we have it in our local communities, but people are people, and so like I don't like to talk about my kid with people that are in the same district as me,
Mm-hmm.
because then it feels like a little gossipy or a little whatever. So there's a little bit of anonymity, but then like real true friendships and support, which I think is super helpful.
Yeah.
I'm unique and not wanting to share a whole lot. I don't know, I just feel weird. Like if Jack is somebody's classmate, I don't want to go on and on with their mom about all of the things that are. It doesn't feel affirming to Jack for me to do that sometimes.
Well, it's also not good for you as a caregiver to, you don't want to swirl in those sort of things. So as a caregiver, you need your mental health to be top of the list as well, because if your mental health isn't in a good spot, then you're not able to care in a best way that you can. And I feel like that's how those bonds can happen within the club
Yeah,
in
yeah,
particular.
that's for sure. I totally agree with that
Yeah.
too. Yeah, like real friendship and appreciation for people that are in the trenches with you, regardless of what they experience in their families and in their
Yeah.
lives.
Well,
Yeah,
actually, this is
good.
really fun. Thanks for letting me steal the show this week and interview you. It was really fun. We thought we should do something fun for 150 because congratulations. It's a huge accomplishment to record 150 episodes. Like honestly, it's like wowzers. Like so many podcasts do not make it that duration. Honestly, it does not happen. You very rarely take time off where most podcasts take breaks for the duration of the summer, and with the exception of a few weeks here and there, you very rarely even take a week off. So, yeah.
We've done like a week, maybe 3 or 4
Hmm.
times, and we just did two, which was
And it was
weird.
okay.
Um, but my whole family was sick and
Yep.
just out of whack.
Well, and then in full disclosure, in the summer, podcast listening goes down in general across everybody. Like that's a generalized thing. Even though people love the idea that maybe someone listens to it by the pool, it's actually not a big one for that. App like books still are like audio books, but that's what's happening. People switch to audiobooks to listen to by the pool or the beach or whatever it may be. But what's really cool is that when people dive back in and find you or come back because they're ready to listen again, I love to watch the way people consume you, because I know it's going to blow up again in like a minute, because we're about to be back to school this week for both you and I, our families. So
Tomorrow, bump, bump, bump.
yeah, Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like, I think I am, and maybe this is unintentionally part of the brand, and it became unintentionally part of my law practice. And like, I do have a fair amount of advocates that listen, so you're probably the audience for this particular comment. But I have no offense if somebody's like, okay, that's enough, I'm out of here. Or in my law practice, if somebody calls on an intake and is like, am going to go in some other direction, I always say my phone keeps ringing, and so like the things that I put out are necessarily intended for this audience. And I definitely love the feedback of, could you talk about this, or could you talk about that, or, any constructive criticism too. But at the same time, like, we're going to do what, we just try to put out there what is consistent with our brand, what is consistent with our missions, and what feels right to us in our hearts and in our mission statement. And so there is this like confidence and knowing and um like plan that we just continue to try to fulfill here. So, if it isn't right for Ashley Barlow Company, then it isn't right. And that's just kind of the way that it goes. And I think that's a good advocacy strategy, a good advocacy skill. Like, if something is, I don't want to say like non-negotiable, but if something is non-negotiable, go after it. If you're really passionate about something, go after it. That's truly what this entire journey has been for me. Is this feels right, so I'm going to go after it. I've got the energy to do it. I'm going to go after it. That does not feel right, so I'm going to let that one go. And it's worked so far, so we'll keep at it.
Absolutely. Okay, so we'll see everyone next week for episode 151. And I don't even know what the title is going to be. I don't know what we're doing for next week, actually. So,
I think it's something on inclusion.
okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay.
A little behind the scenes. We go like 8 episodes out sometimes.
Yeah.
We've got a big bank of episodes, and then sometimes we go like, it's Monday and we publish on Tuesday. Did you record anything?
Sometimes it's like, it's okay. I just got to finish cooking dinner and then I'll go edit it. Don't worry, I'll get it up.
I'm gonna go into the woods behind my house to get away from the people to record. So I think it's on inclusion.
Okay,
But I might
yeah. There is a title in the list and everything. I just don't have it up.
Yeah, plan.
Yeah.
Plan.
It's not so willy-nilly, but yeah. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Ash.
This was fun. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna stop.